hello, and welcome everyone to the Top 64 Finals cast. And I am joined as always by the lovely TheaBeasty. Hey Tia, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Lionheart. How has your weekend been so far?
I cannot complain, Just chilling, watching some high quality Gwent, among other things. It could be a lot worse than this, and this is literally the last chance for anybody to get through to Open 2. And there were so many huge names in this event that haven't made it to the finals. And we know, if you haven't already found out, spoilers ahead, it is Nick R versus Ch.ase in the winners bracket final. And that is going to be our very first cast game. I can't wait.
Me neither, and that's saying something. We've seen people like Colimon as well as Freddy Babes already falling out, though I have a suspicion they might have been experimenting with some decks they don't necessarily want to show yet, so they've gone with a different set of lists instead. But still, we have the Nick R as well as Ch.ase playing for a spot in Open number 2. So this is a pretty big game for them, and it's going to be interesting to see who makes it through. Of course, we already have Shaggy in the lower bracket doing what Shaggy does best, making his way to every single finals in the qualifiers. We'll see how that turns out this time around.
I know. I mean, he spent the entire of Open 1 getting into the top 4 pretty much every time. Made it on the last attempt last time. Can he claw his way from the lower bracket to do it again? I guess we'll find out over the course of the cast. And if not, it'll be Horizonov who will be going through against him. We will find out as we go through to see which one is which. Now, I don't think we have too long here, so shall we jump straight into the deck lists?
That sounds like a plan.
Okay, and we start with the deck lists for Nick R.
Alright, so Nick's first list is that of Double Cross. I mean, do you remember when Masquerade Ball died, Lionheart? Me neither. It's still here, it's alive and well. Now you can't get 2 poisons in 1 turn unless you do something like use Double Cross and steal an Aristocrat, but essentially cards like Joachim as well as Roderick don't trigger Masquerade Ball anymore. Instead, we have a pretty powerful combo with cards like Fergus Var Emirates as well as Seditious Aristocrats. In a long round, if left unchecked, these cards make for a lot of points. Also, we still have potential quadruple Joachim. You can't underestimate that combination. You've got Joachim around 1 or 2. You can coup de grace it, use Gortha Gavaya to place it on top of your opponent's deck and just counterella it with a 3rd and perhaps a 4th Joachim. All in all, a very strong deck, and although people are underestimating Nilfgaard at the moment, we still see Nilfgaard in both of our opponents' lists who made it to the final, so that's worth noting. And then we go over to a Reckless Flurry list.
Yeah, I really like this list. It's a little different. Obviously, we've seen SK Warriors be strong meta for a very, very long time now. But this list is a little different. It's non-devotion and it has lots of answers. There's a lot of options with Discard, Burner, and the newly buffed Coral, a card that if you do not answer can be really problematic. It's just points, points, points all over the place. Lots of mid-range, nothing above 10 provisions in this list. 5 10 provision cards, Witcher Discard. I can see this being particularly powerful, and it was brought by a lot more players than I expected. It was, I believe, the most common Skellige list. There's even a Lambert, so somewhere there is a very happy Bane sat, and an artifact compression as well, just so that it has some answers. This is the definition of a potential tournament list, abusing those devotion lists for sure. And we see lots of players. Syndicate has been mostly Pirates Cove in theory, but so far in this tournament it's been 50-50, and we see a Line Pockets list here for Nick as well.
And apparently my audio is being odd. I don't know if the Discord settings are off, but apparently we need to try and fix that. But I'll go over to Line Pockets so long. And yeah, it's quite interesting seeing that people did bring Line Pockets when Pirates Cove is so popular at the moment. It has been nerfed substantially, but it is still a very strong deck. Now, you still have your proactive round 1 where you thin your Halfling Safecrackers out with Nova Gradient Justice. You also have Flying Redanian as well as Furko the Sculptor to help with more thinning. Your Crowns can go uninteractive, it can target cards, you have a lot of control, and now we have even more removal in this list with Professor as well as Horson Jr. Horson Jr. now with Devotion has a guaranteed 6 points of damage. and with Professor putting a bounty on a card, Horton Jr. can finish it off if the Professor doesn't get rid of it first. So a very, very strong deck. Though I would like to see it up against Pirates Cove, as I personally believe Pirates Cove is a little bit more powerful at the moment. But it is Line Pockets who made it through to the finals, so perhaps I am underestimating it. And then we go over to his fourth list, which is Uprising. Good old Northern Realm Witches.
Yeah, Northern Realms Witches still incredibly powerful. It's a list. We had some nerfs to Vesemir as a result of a single misplay by Jason, and since that, that wasn't insignificant, as well as the Lyrian Scytheman change, so that it was row-locked. But this is still a really powerful list. It has so many points. I was watching a matchup earlier, and in a long round, the number of points this can absolutely shoot out are incredible. It has a few more answers than the traditional version in terms of damage itself. Prince Ansi's in there, as well as an original Geralt of Rivia. So there is some tall answers, something that this list previously didn't potentially have, as well as, of course, the Margarita and a Boiling Oil. Overall, across the course of a long round, this list is really not to be messed with. It has some serious, serious strength. And I can see Nick here, he's picked these lists very well based on the meta. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on with them for sure. So I guess the next thing to do is go and look at Ch.ase's list, right?
All right, I just played with my settings.
That's
so
much better. That's so much better.
Ah, yes. Yes.
To my ears, anyway. Chat, you will have to let us know if we have fixed the issue, because that sounds much smoother.
Oh, gosh. Well, you know what happened, chat? Discord did a little funny, and it switched to the placebo headphone on my head, which is just for cosmetic purposes. And it actually picked up that mic instead of the real one. So, very interesting stuff. We got it, chat. We got it. All right. Shall we go on to Ch.ase's list then?
Yeah, I have Ch.ase's list up, and if you want to take the first one, it is Imprisonment.
All right, Imprisonment. Now, interestingly, again, we have a Northgard list. Imprisonment tends to do a little bit better in a mirror match setting with double cross, as Tailbot has shown us in the past, because if the board gets filled with spies, the one who can get rid of a single spy with Imprisonment has a potential spot for another spy. But alas, we will see if that match ever happens. This list is very similar to that of Nick's. It has all of the gold cards except for Menno, which is a tutor, and Ch.ase did switch out a few of the bronzes as well, so we don't see Tawny Joust there, for example. Again, potential quadruple Joachim. We have Fergus, along with the seditious aristocrats. We'll definitely see those in action later today. And then we go on to an Elves list.
Yeah, it is Redea Elves. As soon as the stratagem changes took place, the concept of Redea again, even though in theory it's counterintuitive with Feign Death, the sheer power in that stratagem has made this list amazing. There are a couple of different versions around at the moment, and this is the one minus a Great Oak, with my least favourite card in the game, Serpent Trap, and Ibar Hattori in there to give you a second. Pred Dive Trap is in the middle of this list twice, and actually it's a really nice take for Ch.ase through the tournament, because that can be really, really useful in a lot of matchups. In the V matchup, I've seen that really, really hurt a few players over the course of the couple of days that this tournament has been going on. It is a Redea list, which means it has singleton units only, and as a result potentially misses its cards sometimes, but there is an Aneromancy to do everything possible to avoid that, as well as an Ailerin, of course, for that elf thinning. This list has been surprisingly powerful across both the ladder and, in general, the tournament meta. Most players opting to take this list as one of their fours if they're picking Scoia'tael, so it's going to be interesting to see if they get to play this. I don't think it's received many bans, so I do expect to see this one taken. And the next list is another Reckless Flurry list.
Yes, another one. Now, I find these lists very interesting because people are opting for less consistency because it lacks cards like Blood Eagle, and instead going for a more powerful package along with Carl. So if you do end up drawing Carl round one, those discard cards are going to make her damage random cards by 2 every single time you do that. And if you manage to discard all the cards you don't want, then this is a great thinning mechanism and makes up for the lack of cards like Blood Eagle. So hopefully you do end up drawing that Carl around 1 or 2 when you need her most. Of course, this list also has a lot of tempo, it has a lot of control, and you can target almost anything in the meta at the moment. You have Karathi Heatwave for toll removal, Spores if you should face a list like V, You have a Lambert Swordmaster in case you end up playing against Elves or Aracha Swarm. Pretty much a very powerful deck. We even see Hammond there. Hammond being able to move a card to a different row, perhaps taking against decks like Carapace. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see this deck doing as well as it is currently doing. We then go on to another Lined Pockets list.
We do indeed. After the top 16 was completely dominated by Red Raim's Pirates Cove list, Line Pockets is back, and it is back with a bang. The two buffs that the Syndicate faction saw, particularly the change to Professor and Horson Jr., are massive in an already devotion list, which this was. While Cleaver and particularly the Halfling Safecrackers took a serious nerf, those cards getting enough of a buff to make this list still incredibly viable. There is just one Halfling Safecracker in this list, perhaps testament to the fact that it is now an Intimidate Venedal Elite rather than the incredibly powerful card that it was. We have seen a lot of power across this list, and I think it's fair to say that it is not dead as a list yet by any means. It's still incredibly, incredibly strong. I am going to switch us out of the decks now, and we can go back. We only have a few minutes to go, and Tia, do we have the bans in, I believe?
We do have the bans in. Both Nick as well as Ch.ase ended up banning Lined Pockets. Oh. Very interesting. This has been a consistent choice of them throughout the tournaments, I believe. Both of them wanting to ban Syndicate.
Yeah, they have banned Syndicate. Both of them have banned Syndicate at every single juncture so far. Whether it was Cove or Pockets, both of them have instantly said, no, I will not be playing anything. As simple as that. I am going to ban all Syndicate and I will take my chances against absolutely everything else. And that seems to have continued, to be honest. Which way has the coin flip gone? If you in chat, you can find that out by typing !bans. We are literally about to get started as well. I can see the card already spinning, so this is literally jumping straight into the finals here, and I will switch us over now as we watch it happen. And
alright, and coin flip wise, Ch.ase is on blue coin, Nick is on red.
Okay, so Ch.ase on blue, Nick on red, and we've got a couple of choices here then. So if you are Nick, red coin against the list to the left. So there's no Syndicate here. Ooh. He could take his Nilfgaard list, because you probably want Northern Realms. Northern Realms is on blue. Northern Realms, which is loves blue coin. Reckless Flurry could do either, but I think it seems like a more proactive sort of Zack list than perhaps Engines itself. So maybe we see one of the two of those here.
I think you definitely want to take Elves on red coin, so I doubt we'll ever see that on blue. You might be right. Let's see, what can Nick take on blue coin is the question. He is not running Elves. Instead, he is running Northern Realms, which is excellent on blue coin. So I have a feeling we might be seeing that, and then Ch.ase will be taking against Northern Realms, which suffers to control most of the time. So
yeah,
maybe Nilfgaard. We'll see.
Possibly. I think that's a matchup you'd certainly want to grab, if possible, because Purify plus Northern Realms equals very, very little in the way of options, other than, of course, the legend that is Kudkadak. That is, of course, your only option for that. But I don't believe he's in the list, so it's fair to say that, yes, the Nilfgaard matchup might be a little bit challenging. We are just waiting for this to go through here. They are clearly labouring over their decisions. It's going to be interesting to see which one goes with which. I think I've got that Nick is actually on red coin and Ch.ase is on blue. Is that right?
Oh, really? Did I read that wrong?
I might be wrong.
I'll quickly take a look at what we were told.
Just to double check. But yeah, it should be quite an interesting lineup. Whether these two, I think they've probably played against each other quite a lot up at the top end of the ladder, and I guess we will not have to guess any longer, because in they go. They go.
Ch.ase will be on blue coin.
Okay, so Ch.ase is blue. Oh, it's a Nilfgaard mirror.
Oh my goodness.
A Nilfgaard mirror. Okay,
all right.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. As we've said before, in theory, we saw Tailbot feel very comfortable when he originally championed Imprisonment Ball. Very, very similar to this list. A few tweaks, of course, since the changes to Ball, but he felt pretty confident. Both players with Masquerade Ball in hand as well. So this is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, alright, so Ch.ase going first with Imprisonment. Now, Imprisonment normally a very favored matchup against Double Cross if you're stuck in a long round 3, meaning Nick is going to go all out here and try to deny round control at all costs. We already see that Seditious Aristocrats being put on the board. Interestingly enough, it will boost every time we see a spy on Nick's side, so it is a proactive play, one that can be used, as we see right there.
It's such a good card since the changes, so that now spies are a lot better. There were a few tweaks to, I believe it was to Amir, and all of a sudden that card now finds a lot more value in ball lists simply because the spies don't count to trigger Masquerade Ball anymore, so they become far more important. I've used them a few times when playing Nilfgaard this season, and honestly, they actually feel great. They really do.
I mean, they don't seem like they lack any points in that regard, especially if you're playing spies. And ooh, we see that low roll coming out there. Luckily, nothing of value is stolen. Nothing at all. So he gets a Van Murlem Hunter, which is a lock and will end up triggering his Masquerade Ball if need be.
Yeah, I mean, it's another option. It's a denial on one side, so you get an additional aristocrat and deny one to your opponent. Not insignificant, but equally not the end of the world here. Not the end of the world. And we see here Vigo dropping down. A little bit of thinning from Ch.ase on this side. Will be keen, obviously, not to lose on even in this situation, as that would be a big challenge for him to overcome. But does have both his own Gorthugaved as well as a full cycle of poisons in hand. A little bit more... It's a much golder hand from Nick on the other side. Potentially a lot of cards he wouldn't really want to commit here, but does importantly have that cupbearer. That's huge. That's really, really big here to be able to deny this.
Yeah, that helps a lot here because Ch.ase would definitely have gotten rid of that Nausicaa Sergeant. Instead, now he decides to pass, and that's exactly what Nick wants to see, as he is already left with 5 cards he does not necessarily want to commit too early. Instead goes with Coup de Grace, and he will see that in the next turn.
Yeah, it's important for Ch.ase there to take the pass when he had it. These guys not messing around. They are playing speed Gwent. They are not messing around and just going as quickly as they can here. As you say, Nick now has round control. Ch.ase, as much as he would have rathered that, will be reasonably content that he didn't lose on even. And for those in chat, we are streaming on a delay. That is the reason that Observer isn't currently working. It's not an issue with Observer. It's because we are streaming on delay as it's the finals.
Indeed it is. And yeah, it's been a very long weekend for anybody who is in the top 64. You have to get a long way to make it until the finals, and I'm sure both of these players want to go to bed as quickly as possible. Of course, right after taking their spot in Open number 2, that is.
Definitely. And obviously this is the winners bracket final, so the winner is in. They get to Open number 2, and they are very, very happy. The whoever loses this series has another chance, though. They will go into the lower bracket finals to face the winner of Ryzanov versus Shaggy, and the winner of that series will also get a place. So it is not all over yet if they don't win here. But it looks like Nick is just slamming that Joachim. Ooh, not the ideal card, though. Not the ideal card. He has the Usurper and the Brathens in hand, as well as Fergus, so felt pretty confident there. But he is now going straight in and going, okay, you know what, no problem. It's a tempo push. Let's see where we go from here. It isn't, interestingly, an option Ch.ase has himself without committing the other spy.
Yeah, Nick here likely relying on the fact that Ch.ase has not drawn all of his cards, but as we can see, he definitely did end up drawing most of what he needs. Steals a poison, very nice to see, and if he plays another, that 12 points is going to disappear quite promptly. Now, Nick likely here needs to push just a little bit because he does not want to end up in a situation where his side of the board is swarmed, and I believe that's exactly what he's doing at the moment. Whether he's going to go deep into this round is yet to be seen, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to try and push for as much as he can. If he can get ball without committing ball, I think he'll be very happy here. It's going to be very difficult to get all the points needed. You can see first coup not available at all to Ch.ase, but Nick only has the second one here, so will potentially be kind of tentative to use it. Lots and lots of spies. There's almost infinite poisons available in this matchup because each player tends to have a poison bond on the board that can just be copied. So it does tend to keep going.
And we see one charge there coming from Ch.ase and a locking Brathens, so Similag will not be ticking there anymore.
Huge.
And we get another Brathens. Thank you, Ch.ase. Thanks for that leader charge. Yeah, we put another Brathens there, and we steal a poison. That's a lot of points there for Ch.ase.
Yeah, Ch.ase, very, very happy here. 20 points and a card up will be sat here saying, you know what? I'm pretty happy here. Are you going to keep pushing me now, effectively committing cards that may lose you the game? This, not ideal. Not ideal for Nick at all. Their hands looking very, very similar, but honestly, the 20-point difference and the card, bad situation for Nick. Does have, in theory, the extra card from leader, though. So he is now going to be working out, what do I do here? How do I get out of this? Because board state for board state, I would much rather be Ch.ase right now.
I'm looking at the perfect scenario here where Nick ends up stealing Masquerade Ball and just winning the game and 2-0ing because of it. It would be a high roll indeed, but I wouldn't be shocked if he decides to push here. Theoretically, he makes up for the lack of a card merely by having double cross as a leader. And we see that commitment coming from Nick, Masquerade Ball being played. Do we see a leader charge as of yet? Perhaps not.
Yeah, I think he slams straight into leader here because he knows he doesn't have enough. He does not have enough options here to potentially be able to trigger it himself. He only has the one card in hand, and I think he's roped out here, so will he actually be able to transition this poison? Okay, it's just the observer delaying. Awesome, great luck either way. And we see ball slam straight. Ch.ase not messing around here.
No, definitely not. A Ch.ase needs to keep up with the bleed. If he can get out of this round with an extra card, then round 3 is likely going to be his. Though Nick having another Fergus in hand, will that help him though, as I do not see any seditious aristocrats on his side of the board, which is a pity as this would have been a very nice round for them. Instead we have a thirsty dame, and we still see whether Nick is going to end up pushing all of his cards out here. It won't be very good if he does, because Ch.ase has all the cards he has.
That's the thing. I mean, there is an option to coup Brathens, so that he can play a Brathens again on his side, use it to create himself another Thirsty Dame, and transition that second poison, as well as then get an engine on his side of the board from the Brathens. Something that I think he's going to consider doing. May just try and thin his own deck with the Joachim again, and instead decides that's more points. And that's his second one now. That's it. There are no more coups on the side of Nick.
None at all. And we draw into the Van Moorlem Hunter. It triggers Masquerade Ball at least, so if we want to opt out of the round, now is most likely going to be our best opportunity to do so. No reason to commit Fergus, no reason to commit our Usurper, and Yen not finding that much value unless we're looking at carryover for a Brathens potentially, or Joachim.
Yeah, for Joachim. It's an interesting read there for Ch.ase. Had to poison the 1 point unit left on his side for Nick, which he'll be confident to know then there's no real other way of him getting poisoned, doesn't have access to it. Also, no way of poisoning on the other side either. Ch.ase right now does not have another. There isn't another one. He can't proc ball here. So unless he manages to pull one off that Cantarella, not ideal. Not a great situation for him right now.
That's very true, because our Usurper isn't in its third form yet, therefore not an aristocrat. Nick doesn't know this though, so he might have to consider whether he needs to get out of the round now or continue to push, hoping that Ch.ase didn't draw his cards, which is in fact what happened. But as the adrenaline ticks, we will reach a point where the Viper Witcher Mentor will come out and likely play for quite a bit of points there, so yeah, it's definitely good to get out of the round sooner than later.
And he does take that pass. He thinks, you know what? It's a decent-sized bleed. I've got ball. I feel like I've traded enough. But a single yen, it's doable. It's not ideal as a card. It's not necessarily what you want to be yenning there, but got to be done. And as a result, could be a lot worse. Gets out of the round, keeps his card. So we'll be reasonably happy there on both sides. It's going to come down to who manages to draw what here. And there is that brick that was reshuffled in as well that rapidly disappears.
So far, Nick's hand is looking exceptional compared to that of Ch.ase. Let's see. Okay, we get rid of the Sergeant, and oof, not great, not great.
Nilfgaard still has tricks up its sleeve, and there is a Cantarella on the side of Ch.ase. And obviously on both sides, in fact, there are Cantarellas, and a potential double Cantarella has decided to keep hold of the coup there, hoping that he will find a target. And I'm sure he will find a target.
We see the Cantarella coming down on the board. What is it going to pull?
Oh, it's huge.
And we see an emote there on Chase's side. Arturius Vigo, what a steal. That is definitely what Nick wants to see.
Yeah, big time. And there were a couple of big cards that Ch.ase missed. I believe he missed his Joachim that is also still in deck. But Ch.ase says, okay, cool. I will instantly snap that and I will play my own. Thank you very much, good sir. But what does he take here? What does he take? Is the poison more valuable? Potentially. Or does it create you a problem by opening up the option of your opponent stealing it? This is the difficulty. What line do you take here? And Ch.ase rather, will be looking through the deck frantically, I would imagine, thinking, can he have any more poisons?
And what we see, okay, the last option I would have gone for, seeing that we have some removal on Nick's side. Instead, we decide to boost a card on our side of the board. No poison, as poison wouldn't have done much, and no seditious aristocrats, as the points it would have gotten would have been limited, but it would still have been substantial enough in my opinion, especially with Usurper being in hand.
Yeah.
But we decide to go for that instead.
Yeah, chooses to boost the Cantarella. Doesn't make any difference, particularly in terms of toll removal. Obviously, the poisons are pretty much all gone. We do see a single one from Nick. I don't blame Ch.ase for not taking that because he will be aware he could have drawn into one solitary poison. So he's going to be reasonably content there. And we see Usurper coming down. Now, the big thing here, and I love the potential of this play, Nick is holding... He is holding Fergus, and I believe has last say. So Nick here can use his Fergus to pull back additional units created by Usurper if there is board space. So last say in this matchup is absolutely crazy and potentially huge for Nick. He may be down right now, but I think that's a play he will be trying to make, and one that if he does make is a huge swing.
But he already used the order ability of Usurper, meaning he won't be able to do that again, right?
Oh,
he did click it.
Oh,
yeah, unfortunately.
No.
But
Yeah,
that is definitely a play a lot of people have done in the past. It was a make or break mirror match at some points, where with Fergus, you steal your opponent's operators back because you give them spying status. But yes, he went the safe route. He clicked.
I'm really surprised
Fergus,
he clicked. Yen's gone, poisons are gone, locks. I'm really surprised he chose to click there. He must be confident that he just has enough points all on his own that he does not have to worry about this. The other cards you can see, the steal there on the Witcher Adept is going to be huge because we know Joachim is sat in deck, so that's 10 points. It's a really nice steal, as well as a Yen to take the tallest. This is going to be actually quite close.
I do believe it will be close. We still have that leader charge from Ch.ase. Can't ignore that. We see Fergus coming out now, though it unfortunately doesn't do much. And there we see the seditious aristocrats doing its thing on Ch.ase's side. Very nice, ends up boosting there. I would have liked to see another seditious aristocrat with Fergo, but it's alright. Instead we see one and we see it do its thing very nicely. Yeah, now, question is, what does Cantarella pull, right? What does Cantarella pull? This will maybe determine the game.
It will, yeah, that's going to be the thing. Is he going to have that opportunity here? I think he can pull whatever he wants because he has his location. He can pull literally any card he likes. The location is active. All of a sudden, this is looking pretty nice if you are Ch.ase. He is up by a decent chunk. I'd be surprised if this takes anything but the Witcher here to grab maximum points, which I think is... Oh, takes Seditious here. Okay. Oh, the boosts on the spies.
That's going to be a lot of points.
It is a lot of points.
That is a lot of points. That's about 9, I believe. Yeah, and it triggers our Usurper as well, putting us on 37 there on Nick's side. Now, what is Cantarella going to give us? What is it going to give us?
Wants. It is Brathens.
Yes. Okay, he decides to go for something out of the graveyard. Makes sense. Gives us a guaranteed card. Okay, Brathens triggers our Seditious Aristocrats. Yeah. Very nice. Gonna see that being boosted by 2 at least.
Probably takes his own. Yeah, huge amount of points here, as well as a leader charge, and that animation on Triss looking absolutely fantastic. And it is nowhere near enough to steal a 10, and Ch.ase takes the first matchup 1-0. So Ch.ase from Blue Coin wins the Nilfgaard Mirror. Will be very, very... Well, yeah, Nilfgaard matchup anyway. Will be very, very happy that that is the situation. He is going to be delighted, and we are back in dual chat while they work out what their next matches are going to be.
Excellent plays from Nick's side, because he was not favoured in that sort of long round matchup. Instead, he decided to bleed round 2, going into a little bit of a shorter round 3. I see a legendary there.
Yes, I've switched back. There's a legendary. We have a Yorvith. We finally got a legendary. It wasn't in the middle, but it counts.
It's a premium as well. You can't ignore that.
Oh, another.
It's a legendary keg. Oh, look at that. An epic. What is a chat? Keg game time.
And, oh, nice. Very, very nice. And there are the keg games from Snake. Appreciate it. He's going all in. Snake doesn't care. He's like, I'm not opening 1. I'm opening 3, 4, 5. This one is a disappointing keg, though.
Yeah, rather disappointing, Al. I agree with you there. Try harder, sheep.
I will throw us back into the dual chat now while they prepare that. So, next matchup then. Nick currently 1-0 down here. You've got to assume he's going in on blue coin. He's going to want to get those Witchers through, you would imagine. And if you are Ch.ase, he has got his Nilfgaard through. Does he take Elves here on red coin? Seems to be a pretty decent shout. Could take... Depends on which he feels more confident with, I suppose. Is he more likely to feel confident with the Skellige on blue or the Elves on blue?
It would be Skellige, I'd say.
Yeah. So
I don't know about you.
Yeah, I can see him deciding... I think we're going to see Elves on red coin as a result. I'd be surprised if we don't see, let's get this Northern Realms list through here, let's get the Witches going and see what happens. But of course, that is for them to decide. They are already queuing in to the next game, so it will join that.
We can now switch to Repic's point of view for the next game.
Okay. Thank you for that.
All right. Yes, I do believe we'll see something along the lines of Reckless Fury here, because Elves normally prefer being on red coin. They do not want to lose on even when they are on blue coin. Though both of these lists of Ch.ase are quite nicely teched against something like Northern Realms, because we have a lot of control, a lot of removal in both of these lists, as well as a lot of tempo. So both of them can quite nicely manage to withstand a bleed from Northern Realms. But I do believe we'll be seeing Skellige. And we see Elves. Oh, goodness. Ch.ase going with Elves. Okay, Ch.ase deciding I can take you on with blue coin. Perhaps prepared to commit a little bit more round 1 than the usual player. But hey, it has worked for him up until now. This is going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
It will indeed. Now, you are about 5 seconds ahead of me, I think, as a guest, because you saw it happen before I did. I will refresh when we're in between this game to try and catch you up. And we do see... So it is NR. And it is Elves, yeah. This is going to be interesting. Can you find your cards as the Elves player? That's the question. Is the Anero going to come into hand? There is a Maxi to help that. The Redea list, it is a singleton list. You're relying on finding your cards. Maxi makes a huge difference to that, though, right?
Surely. Maxi has been underestimated for a very long time, until she recently... became meta a month or 2 ago, and she does her job quite nicely, giving you the opportunity to reshuffle your deck if needed, putting something on the bottom. Of course, we are going to see a Northern Realms Witcher being played there on the melee row, along with a Crystal Skull. That's normally a very nice way to start off the game.
It is indeed. You'd be very surprised if we don't see that. Has drawn Erland, has not managed to draw Papa Vesemir, so only has one of the 2 deck boosting options. Does have both tool removal choices, but in this matchup, particularly Geralt of Rivia, not going to be amazing. Not too much in the way of boosted units, and Redea is the tallest in this list, if I'm not mistaken, at 8. So holding that Geralt may be an intentional choice to mulligan it away rather than anything else, because it doesn't get boosted. You can see lots of cards are missing on the other side as well. No Verno, no Aneromancy, no Scenario, no Hattori or Pred Dive Trap, much to my delight, because I loathe that card. But there's a lot missing on both sides here. No Heatwave too.
Now, interestingly enough, we see that Griffin Witcher Adept being played first, which means we are looking out for the Serpent Trap, is my guess. We don't want to give Serpent Trap that spring, making it get rid of our smallest card on our side of the board. Instead, we likely now go with the Griffin Witcher after this and then give it a boost, meaning it is out of Serpent Trap range.
Yeah, makes sense. Obviously, we can see both hands, the opponents can't. We did see a Maxi come down there from Ch.ase, and there's a huge amount of things that were right at the very top of this list here. Missing a Nero, but probably drawing pretty much everything else. It'll be interesting to see if Ch.ase chose to shuffle there. Probably not.
Nick playing in a very interesting manner here, which just, it's like he's hearing what we're saying and they're doing the opposite thing to make us look bad. But he is not playing the way normal people start off with this sort of deck. Normally you do get your Griffin Witcher out with Crystal Skull, hence the reason you want blue coin with this sort of deck. Instead he holds on to it, which again, very interesting. I can't really see the reason for that yet. Nick definitely has a plan in mind. Perhaps he wants to get out of the round later and use it to get rid of Elves. I don't know, but right now we are seeing him go for a totally different tactic altogether.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple things that can deal with it, I suppose, in this list. As you say, the Pred Dive, or Pred Dive Trap, as I call it, was a potential risk. But also, you can see there is the potential for it just to be moved. It doesn't work until its Adrenaline factor, if moved. So, has decided not to commit it yet. Potentially will choose to use it closer to the Adrenaline instead, so that even if it's moved, it starts acting as a stronger engine. And the Cat Witcher Adept here, a card that saw almost no play until this Redea Elves list. One that I've seen very little of, but given allied unit vitality with duration equal to the number of units on the row, that card has just traded as 7 for 4, which could be a lot worse.
Not bad, and you have the opportunity of using Vitality or Bleeding, which is quite nice, so you decide what you need. Also, chat making some interesting points here. Theoretically, Nick could still be playing around that Serpent Trap and trying to get out his specials before boosting something until it is, higher. So, theoretically, you could still be playing around that card, though I would like to think he's holding onto it for some mysterious reason instead.
And the risk getting rid of all of your specials makes sense, but in this list, your best card arguably is in fact Amphibious Assault, and you have to play that card twice. So there's a good chance you're going to get burned at some point. It would almost be easier for him if they were out of the way. It would almost be easier if they were out of the way here, but they're not, and that is the world that we live in. Does Nick keep pushing here? He does. He's going straight away. He has a decent shot here as well. Draws Vesemir perfectly on the Thrive curve. Does he put back Geralt here? He does. He wants a hand that's fully playable.
Makes total sense, and we're going to get some very nice carryover. Alas, we can now pass Nick getting out of the round without committing his valuable stratagem along with that Griffin Witcher. Instead, we're going to see that Griffin Witcher coming down later, perhaps. One would hope to see. Also, we could shuffle away our vanilla Geralt, which is not going to help us in this sort of matchup. It is quite the brick, and I believe we're going to hope we don't draw into that again.
And it looks like, from the cards that have just been drawn, originally he was drawing into almost all of the gold cards with the exception of... So he was going to be drawing Verno, he was going to be drawing Scenario, and he was going to be drawing Yavin, but not a Neuromancy, and has decided that it wasn't enough and did shuffle and finds a Nero and Verno as well as a trap. That trap here, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. If the shields are in play, that trap is going to play for minimal value, but there are so many units swarming the board, it'll be interesting to see, can it find the value it wants, or will shields rapidly get in the way here?
Well, he commits his other Witcher Adept now, meaning unless he is going for a 2-0, they might not necessarily get in the way later on. Though Ch.ase now having to decide whether he is going to start committing some of his most powerful cards like Redea, as well as Feign Death. The choice is up to him. Staying ahead here would be nice if we were Ch.ase, as Nick is already on 6 cards, meaning he won't catch up to a full hand again.
No, he won't do. I think he wants to do the typical Witcher thing, the shorter the round. Generally speaking, NR Witchers was pretty good in a short round, as it was historically. Ch.ase will be aware of this, but won't want to overcommit if he can avoid it. There is a lot of power in this list, and it is first the Nero. And if we don't see the trap placed on the board soon, I can see AA coming out pretty quickly here to potentially get out of the way of it. And we do see Redea.
Now, it could well be that Nick is merely playing until we see all of those big commitment cards coming out from Ch.ase, like Redea and Feign Death, though he is going to have to be alright with being a card down here. We are going to get some significant carryover, though, with cards like Adelante as well as Vesemir being dropped later on. We also have Anzis, which isn't really going to get... It's going to get some value with Redea, but like you said, the biggest card is likely going to end up being Redea, and unless there's an engine we want to get rid of, Anzis, Anzis will play for substantial amounts of value.
Yeah, and the list is pretty much engineless. You saw a single pyrotechnician got locked. Normally in this list, locks are very premium if you're playing NR Witches, but realistically it's one of the very few cards you actually want to lock. And we do see First De Niro probably for the scenario here. Radea being out on the board tends to say, no, takes the Hattori. Ooh, is trying to save the scenario. Just going for pure points here.
Alright, so you see Hattori coming out there along with a Serpent Trap. I love the fact that we can see the Serpent Trap.
Yeah, the opponent can't see that. That is just for our benefit, just so that you're all aware.
Okay, so Nick likely very aware of the fact that this is a Serpent Trap and now has to decide whether he wants to commit his Amphibious Assault or not. Committing it might not be the best idea as he's essentially throwing away a 10-point card at that point. So Nick now having to decide whether he wants to go deeper into this round or not.
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for him. He's been offered a pass here by Ch.ase as well. Ch.ase taking a card here to give him a potential pass, and Nick says, nope, not playing, because there were plenty of options there. He could potentially have tried to do something else there to stay ahead. That Spores, albeit there are options perhaps later that will find more value. Ch.ase could have kept the pressure on. Offered the pass. Nick is not interested. He wants to bleed much deeper into this round.
Nick definitely wants that Feign Death to come out, but Ch.ase is not going to give it to him. Ch.ase quite happy with a short round with Feign Death. I would be too if I were him. Instead, we see Isengrim being committed, not even using a single leader charge. Ch.ase very comfortable where he is, and we see Ellerin coming out, putting him ahead there.
Yeah, dropping down. Scytheman dropping. A decent 7-point Scytheman could be a lot worse than that. And we see the other trap dropping. Now that's going to trade for decent points because only one of the units on that row is actually shielded. If you are Nick here, you're ahead, but you know the odds are that is not going to be a Serpent Trap. But can you risk it? We know that it is a Crushing Trap. Can he assume that it is or not? Does he have to commit this Ch.ase here? Play it on the front row, perhaps give it a little boost. Is that the line he takes?
Spectator mode is extremely confusing. I'm trying to figure out if I've missed him clicking on the Serpent Trap. I'm pretty sure he hasn't.
No. It's because one was created so we can see it. The other one was played from hand. So neither of them have been triggered yet. But the played from hand one ends up face down. We see the other one face up. And Nick does hope. He takes the guess that it is a Serpent Trap and he will be not very happy with that.
Yeah, Ch.ase in a very comfortable position right now. Of course, we still have that Amphibious Assault card, which is very big. Don't underestimate it. We do have a Neuromancy on Ch.ase's side, though, which will give us a guaranteed Feign Death, allowing us to trigger it as many times as we need to, as we don't have Heatwave in this deck of Ch.ase. So, Nick.
Yeah, they are playing at lightning speed.
Yeah, we have tool removal instead, and we see Geralt of Rivia going back into the deck where it belongs.
That was a really risky mulligan, and Nick was labouring over that because it was his last mulligan, and he doesn't want to have to take that last mulligan to potentially brick the trio. Is very, very happy to see Leo come out rather than the other one of the Witcher trio. That could have been absolutely painful.
That would have been horrible, yeah. A lot of greedy mulligans there from both sides, in all honesty. And we see the Squirtle Neophyte coming down. It's going to be giving Vernasil a lot of pings, seeing that you can now change different cards into Deadeyes. Very nice. A very nice upgrade indeed. And finally seeing that Griffin Witcher coming out again.
Nice. And manages to remove one of the Deadeyes, which is always a bonus. Not surprised to see that AA slammed at the speed of light, because there is no Pred Dive Trap on board, so it's a lot easier all of a sudden. No more specials. We can see that it isn't going to end up being a brick on the other side because it is still in deck, but these guys are going rapidly. They are not messing around.
They are not, and I suppose Nick did miss a few cards, didn't he? I don't see... Nick does not run Calder, does he?
No, this is the Kelderless version. This was made popular more recently. It feels crazy not to include Kelder, and yet I've seen so many people do it at a high MMR that actually it clearly makes sense. There is no Kelder here. He's got the Witcher trio, which of course you want them sat in deck. You want to summon them out as quickly as possible. May even take the choice here to Slam Leader now, before Verno, which makes sense because you're not going to find the value later.
Yes, I've watched quite a bit of tournaments this past weekend, watched a lot of qualifiers, and it's becoming a trend where you try and get Werner out on the board as quickly as possible to deny things like the Scytheman playing for its full potential, or even in an Elf mirror match where you just try and get rid of those Elves before your opponent can do the same thing to you. And we see Yavin there coming down. It's going to hit the Scytheman, and we get rid of it totally with a Waylay. Very nice value there for Ch.ase.
Yeah, really good. This is going to be really close. The Verno hasn't denied value yet, so it just takes Leo. Would have thought the Scytheman might have been better there, because Leo isn't really dependent on anything other than Witches existing. So I'm a little surprised that he hasn't taken it the other way around there. Going for the last save, Verno. I'm not going to math this. This is all going to come down to, is it enough points? Obviously, there is one more Deadeye to convert between the twos. This is going to be close.
18. I don't want to do this too soon. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We change another one, which makes it 6 plus 1 extra point. So it's 6. I
don't think it's enough. I think he loses by 1. I think he loses by 1 and Nick wins.
It depends how they hit the cards as well, because it could do something to a 1, and it's a tie. It's always a tie.
Well, they do this to us so often. They do it to us so often. It is a tie.
Yes.
It is. I didn't hear a Repek tie list. I didn't hear him guessing this. I'm going to hope that was the only tie he foresaw, because if you guys don't know, Repek has serious aneromancy for number of ties that happen in any given tournament. So I really hope he woke up this morning and thought that there would be only one. Oh, I'm gonna.
He needs to let us know in the chat for sure, as his dreams are quite clairvoyant.
They are.
We've learned in the past. Lionheart casting always ensures a tie. It does, as he tends to wear ties. So, it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point.
So very true. I'm going to quickly throw us back into dual chat. I just want to double check that we don't have double audio. We don't, that's fine.
We don't, that is good news. And I'm surrounded by a beauteous green aura emanating from my chair, and that is totally me, chat. That's all me getting excited for another game here. Elves on blue coin.
Yeah,
Still curious to see why
match.
that Griffin Witcher not coming out on blue coin there with Crystal Skull. Very curious to see why that didn't happen. It would make sense if he was simply playing around Serpent Trap from the very start, and honestly I could see that being the case.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There are lots of different ways that could have gone. I think the Verno slightly earlier may have denied more points, because it would have taken away some of the boosts that could have got from that Scytheman. I think if he plays that a turn earlier, potentially he takes it in the first matchup of that. But I guess we'll find out to see how the replay goes. The draws will be different for sure, although very similar looking hands that I can remember from the first turn actually. Just no Geralt of Rivia. Hasn't got... he's got Vesemir this time instead of Erland, which is a little bit different. And a little bit more
Ch.ase
problematic.
Still going through his mulligans. He has drawn Feign Death this time around in round 1. Though in the previous one I believe he had a Neuromancy, so he always had that option anyway. Okay, are we starting again with our Griffin Witcher Adept? That's exactly what we're doing. So I think this is going to be a very similar play from Nick. As with Northern Realms, it's a very proactive solitaire sort of deck, unless you're interacting with your opponent's cards with Margarita or with Anzi's. But I suspect we're going to see a very similar play from Nick here.
Yeah, and we're looking right now. This is the Maxi, I believe, coming down. A Nero right at the top, as well as that Serpent Trap and Isengrim. You can see Verno being missed further down, so will you take that choice knowing you're getting a Nero for round 2? Is that enough based on the fact that you're drawing Isengrim? We will soon find out if the decision has been made by Ch.ase as to whether he draws it straight away.
And just to clarify for the chat, yes, when we have a tie in this sort of a game at this point, we do replay it exactly as it was. Same decks, same coins. It doesn't count as a win for any of the players.
No.
And we do see those Griffin Witcher Adepts being created exactly like Nick did in the previous round.
Yeah, for sure. Now taking the option here, going to come down and just play a little bit of hand boost with that Vryad Saboteur. Little bit of carryover, will it matter? Well, carryover's always nice, and Nick is not, he's just playing cards. He is giving Ch.ase as little time to think as possible here. It's always interesting when opponents take this line, because you've got two completely different schools of thought. Some people will take every second they can. They will labour over it. If you're watching, say, a Green Knight or a Colamone, you know every game is going to go down to the last second of rope. Other players will go full scale, rapid to try and deny the opponent thinking time. It's a really interesting strategy, it really is, and they're just not messing around. This is speed Gwent.
My theory is simply that they might be the only people more frustrated from a tie than we can be, and they want to go to bed at this point. They want their spot in the Open, and they want to celebrate and end the day. A long weekend indeed. I don't know if I'd ever have the guts to compete in a qualifier if I would ever qualify to begin with, but still, it's so many hours. I wonder if people realize how much time that is to actually get all the way to the finals. But yes, we see another pass from Ch.ase, and then Nick. Blue taking the round once again.
Very similar, minimal committal on the side of Ch.ase, playing a few bronze cards, getting a little carryover this time. Didn't decide by the look of it. No, he kept the deck the same, so did not change it from that maxi this time, has decided to hold on. And now we see, I expect to see something similar in terms of, do we get a push? Do you really want to have that card in hand? Are you keeping the Witcher trio here, or are you trying to put that back in the hope of finding something else? That's the question. Difference from the game that they just tied, though, there is a Serpent Trap in hand this time, ready and available.
Yes, this time Nick's paranoia might actually pay off. Ch.ase having that card in hand ready to go. So if Nick decides to play his first card now, it's going to have to be his weakest. And I believe going for the tutor here is always a very good option because it's a 2-point card that immediately protects the next card you play from a Spring Serpent Trap. That's exactly what we see. What does he pick? He decides to go into the round there. Yeah, he decides to go into the round.
Yeah, and obviously he's looking at this thinking, if I'm going to play a special card, particularly AA, I need to play it early because of the potential Serpent Trap. He was worried about it the whole of the last game, and it didn't really affect him too much, and we do see it drop immediately to the... Are we ever going to see now this Spontaneous Mutagen, which I'm positive is the name of the really creepy card, my least favourite premium card in Gwent, even worse than Parasite. He probably tries to hold this now on the assumption that that is over there.
Very true. That's definitely a potential tactic there. And we see the squirrel coming out, getting rid of Amphibious Assault. That does hurt in a shorter round 3 potentially. And we see another Griffin Witcher coming out. A very nice engine indeed. None have Veil though, so they will stop when they reach their point. And we see Feign Death being committed this time around in round 2. I believe it is necessary at this point, as Nick is definitely intending to bleed here.
Yeah, and he's got a decent amount of points ahead already, on top of having 2 damage engines every turn. It's a scary situation for Ch.ase, so has to commit it. Interesting, he knows there is no heat wave, so there's no reason to need to commit Redea here. He's very happy, doesn't need to try and get max value out of it nice and quickly, because he knows there's no punish for it, so can hopefully hold that Redea for the shorter round 3, because it can ultimately be a decent number of points when you get there.
Definitely. Ch.ase just having to be able to catch up here the moment Nick passes. Decides to go for Karathi Heatwave. Not bad, seeing that the engine would have kept ticking, giving a lot more than just 9 points. You see Margarita coming out now, yet it's not going to be played yet, I believe.
No, probably not, and we do see that lock. He's now 23-0 up, but we have seen how rapidly this scenario particularly can shoot out points in combination. There is already a target that would guarantee a removal with the Waylay when spawned as well. So Nick now going to be sat in a situation thinking, okay, I know I've got Serpent Trap because it hasn't flipped. So I've got one of the big cards, and Feign Death has gone as well. Is he wanting to keep going here? Because if he does, he potentially loses his card. Ch.ase in a boost is an option, but a leader charge is a big commitment too. Can't see him committing the Witcher trio here. Watch as he does it just to spite me. So I
do believe Nick is listening to us and doing everything to spite us at this point. Yes, yeah. This is my theory, at least.
Yeah. Well, from the past, rather, now I think about it. From the past.
Okay, and Nick does decide to go for that pass, not giving him the option to use his trap there. Well, no, the trap is still going to tick.
Yeah. The trap is sat there, but obviously... It is a Serpent Trap, so nothing will be played.
Yes, see, the client is confusing me because I assume the Serpent Trap shows if it's not being used yet, like our previous game. Yet this time around, it's not showing. So I assumed it was a crushing trap there for a second as I was looking at chat there.
Yeah, no, it isn't. Obviously, it does have a spring effect, though. so it isn't a completely useless card here. You can use
2
the spring
points.
mechanic on it, yeah. So it's 2 points, which isn't huge. When you've got first and Aeromancy here, between that, you should be reasonably comfortable knowing that you can potentially waylay. Decides not to, instead takes the extra vitality. Interesting. Doesn't proc the scenario with a bronze elf. Has to lead a charge to get ahead instead of taking something to proc the scenario, which is an interesting choice. That leader charge could come down and be the difference here, but does have second Nero, Verno, 2 leader charges as well. Lots of power still left.
Yes, and this time around round 3 looking a bit better for Nick than it does for Ch.ase because we don't have Feign Death anymore.
Ooh,
Okay, that's
not
a
good though.
bad mulligan. That's not good to see.
Yeah, has to leave the Kadwani Knight in hand, which is really awkward. Although I think Erland is still in deck, so Geralt going to find a really nice target. But that didn't have the option to mull that Kadwani Knight simply because of the Witcher trio. Will be pretty happy here that he can take that. Spontaneous Evolution allows him to unbrick this hand though, which is just, is Spontaneous Mutation, not Evolution. Nice. Unbricked, delightful. One of the joys of this Witcher list means that your talent has a refund policy, and he has managed to do just that.
Adlan's also a sort of catch-22 card. Obviously, you want to play him as early as possible for that nice carryover. But if you end up having him later on, you can use his immunity and get all of those boosts into the card. And we have seen some of these combinations getting quite popular on ladder with cards like Commandos and a Draug, where people purposely flood the deck with cards so Adlan will get all of those boosts. But yes, we'll see Adlan playing for at least something like 8 points if we decide to do it that way. And Ch.ase using all of his leader charges there. We likely see Isengrim coming down soon enough.
Yeah, Isengrim here trades for a huge number of points. Has to convert first if that's the card he intends to play. So many points on the board right now, and has taken the back row Verno instead just to swarm the board because it's additional points for both Isengrim and, of course, for Yavin later as well. No specials in hand for Nick, though, so you'd expect Ch.ase to take the Crushing Trap here over the other option this time.
We do see that immunity on Adlan's, meaning he cannot be targeted right now. He is quite untouchable, to say the least. Okay, and that was a rather sad Nature's Rebuke there on a 2-point card. Obviously, that 2-point card would have changed into a Griffin Witcher Adept, so potentially more than 2 points there.
I've just thought, okay, Leo's in the deck, it's fine. Leo and Geralt are still in the deck. Repek is a step ahead of me. My head thought, hang on a minute, is there another Witcher left? He mulliganed away from Selective Mutation to get himself Erland. But fortunately, Leo is still in the deck for Geralt to pull. I was briefly thinking he had a very sad Geralt Quen, but he does not, it's fine.
No, he's quite alright for now.
He's very happy.
His hand is quite ideal. Both hands are quite ideal given the circumstances. And we see that Witcher Trio coming out very nice, though he's still quite a bit behind when it comes to point differences right now.
Yeah, I mean, and this trap is going to play for huge value. I think he will know what to expect. He will be aware of the likelihood of what this card is. Probably sees him stack and play leader as quickly as he can here. Obviously, we can see that this time because it was created. So created traps show face up for us, but not for the players.
An interesting way to spectate it, right? I believe the first time we're seeing this is merely because of the fact that traps are suddenly being played in the competitive scene, whereas we've never gotten the opportunity to see the clients interacting with traps as of yet. So we changed a boosted Witcher there into a Griffin Witcher Adept merely because of the shield value. Interesting play there from Nick.
Makes sense. You lose a point to gain a point. It's not going to affect your boosted units because, of course, it's just going to be a target for your boost. Now, normally you would want to row stack here. Choose this to still row stack and deny that value with the shield, something else that can be converted again later. Doesn't choose to use leader here though, has decided it is not worth it because he should have enough points with the 3 units that are going to be damaged as well as clicking the Airland that it won't matter. Oh.
Huh.
He springs the trap himself to do as much damage as possible there. That surprised me, but it actually does end up trading for 2 rather than 3. I think there's enough points here. It looks like a long way off, but I honestly think he has enough points here
Oh
to
yeah,
do this.
he takes this. Nick takes the game. Very nice. Seeing that Scytheman. Seeing Anzies. Nick taking the game. It's now 1-1. 1 for Ch.ase, 1 for Nick. Now, that was a very interesting play there from Ch.ase, I'm not going to lie. There were various ways he could have done that. First of all, denying that Scytheman value could have been quite nice if he didn't decide to spring his crushing trap and instead let it go down itself. Quite a few points he would have denied there, but he decided that Yevon would have had more points if he just simply got rid of the shield with Leo.
Yeah.
Interesting play there. Not sure if it would have made the difference.
I don't think. I think it was one more point to do it that way because of the shields. I don't think it was huge. I think he was just going for max value and hoping that there would be enough points. I'm pretty sure it's one more point doing it that way. But it is now 1-1. The next game. I haven't even had a chance to switch back. They are going in again. It's the next game. So we now have had that go through. So it is now 1-1. Ch.ase no longer has access to his Nilfgaard list, and Nick has lost his Northern Realms list. So we are going to see... Are we going to see Nick try and get Nilfgaard through on red again? I would imagine so. It would make sense. Ch.ase probably feeling more comfortable with Elves on the red coin, so is more likely to take Skellige, right? That makes sense. It makes more sense, I would say. Based on the way he's played through the tournament so far, that's certainly the strategy he's picked. He's been more comfortable with the SK on blue, the Elves on red. Nilfgaard's been a little bit more flexible for him, but has taken it on blue where he could. No, he took it on red where he could, actually. But either way, that's what I think they're going to do now. But who knows? Only they know.
Yep. Only they know. I would suspect Ch.ase bringing Skellige on blue. I agree with you with that. And Nick already having gotten rid of his Northern Realms list, meaning he has the option of taking either Skellige or Nilfgaard. He is taking one of them on red. So he has to suspect that Ch.ase is taking Skellige. And what deck is going to be the best against Skellige is the question. Would it be Nilfgaard or also Skellige?
I think he's going to take... I'd be surprised if he doesn't take Nilfgaard here. He'd be more confident getting that through potentially on red than on blue. Isn't going to want to be in the situation where he may have to fight that way round. The SK matchup, the mirror was weird. You may actually want blue coin in the mirror there, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. I'm sure some of the more educated pros in the chat will tell me I'm wrong there, but I think I'd rather be blue in that mirror. I think I'd rather be blue in the SK mirror.
Like the different Skellige lists at the moment, they have a little bit of different techs here. Like both run Heatwave, both run Swellblood Totem, Lambert, but we see Spores there in Ch.ase's list, and we see Artifact Compression in Nick's. So a little bit of small differences. And Nick deciding there is not enough time here for to play a Skellige mirror match and see how it turns out. Instead, we're rather going to go with a little bit more control, a little bit of poison removal, and yeah, Nick deciding to go for Nilfgaard on red.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Tried to take it through as his first choice earlier on red and didn't get the win in a Nilfgaard matchup. So not surprised to see it coming here. And I do get to see this Reckless Flurry list that I love. It's a really weird list. If I was trying to build a list, my brain wouldn't build this list. And yet playing with it, it actually feels really good. The mix of the discard package and the extra power. Always good to see a Flish Flapper in hand. Gotta love it for Specie. Interesting to see how this matchup goes, for sure.
Now, already it happened what I normally suspect happens, and that's the fact that, okay, well, we still have a few mulligans, but you lose some significant consistency here. Yeah, that's a horrible hand to begin with. You want Coral around once in order to thin your deck to make up for the lack of Blood Eagle, but as you can see here, not drawing your discard cards gives you 2 skirmishes in hand and not much proactive plays. Not the hand you want to see if you are Ch.ase.
No, but there is also Mask and does have the answer to that poison if he decides it is the most valuable purifier that he potentially can get. And it's important not to lose this matchup on even if you are Ch.ase in round 1. So may decide this is actually a decent purify here. Instead uses Hammond and Bleeds.
Interesting. Yeah, Grimace might come in a little bit more handy later. And we do actually have alchemy cards in this deck, meaning Grimace can potentially be used more than once. So having Spies and having a potential Masquerade Ball later that can't be procced more than once in a turn, it means you might want to hold on to that Grimace.
Yeah, quite possibly. Quite possibly. Could be valuable. And the option here, takes the poison and clears it up. Nick now pretty happy. We're only a few cards in, but is effectively in a pretty good spot. Still no mask use, and there is the mask to draw Heron Kaduk. Has lots of discard targets in hand, which will feel pretty good. I never ever find them. Whenever I try and play discard, I never find those cards when I'm trying to discard. It drives me insane.
I know theoretically the deck gives you a lot more options, and not drawing them is alright, but still, it's just not consistent enough for my liking. But it's doing very well. It is currently doing very well. So, to each his own right. I think this deck is more wholesome than that of Iced, so we should encourage it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, for Iced is still perceived to be very, very strong, but without the Bloodthirst, you could argue not necessarily as strong, and ultimately has not been chosen. This list in a tournament meta has been considered to be more valuable, and so far the players who took this over Iced have progressed further so far this tournament, so...
Exactly, and we see the Van Moorlem Hunter coming down now, likely locking the Fish Flapper. There we go. Now, of course, that can't trigger the Masquerade Ball later on, but we already have 2 Aristocrats in hand. Well, future Aristocrats that can trigger the Masquerade Ball. Roderick, of course, not triggering it. And we now see Ch.ase here having to decide what he is willing to commit. Goes for his Alchemy card, meaning he's alright with Grimace not being used more than once necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Ch.ase here, round control is quite important. Being able to bleed out a scenario list, especially when you have access to an answer, albeit he doesn't have his Heatwave right now. Losing the round control isn't going to feel ideal, and honestly, for Nick right now, there's a lot of very good cards in hand that you really don't want to have to commit round 1 if you can help it. May decide just to drop that location card and try and high roll a switch, more likely, and he does, he takes the pass, because committing all of those cards to win the round may end up being an overcommitment.
Now, getting round control here with Skellige is quite necessary, as losing it normally loses you the game, especially with this variation of the list. So, yeah, who's playing? Ch.ase is playing Blue Coin Skellige. Yeah, so Ch.ase is obviously very happy to see that, and he now has the option of deciding to bleed. He does
Coral.
draw his Coral, very nice. Or he could go for a long round. It totally depends on what his strategy is for this matchup.
Yeah, Coral as an engine's really scary as well. There is no lock currently on the other side of the board. Obviously doesn't know that. Finds Burner as well. That's nice, and does not hesitate. Does not hesitate at all, but doesn't click the Coral because he would lose the damage. Is reasonably content that he's going to be safe here. We'll be looking and thinking how many more locks are available. There is 1, so it is a bit of a risk. There is another lock in the list, and we'll know that there is 1 more lock in the list, which could have been an answer, but has decided, no, I'm going to take that risk. I'm more than happy to keep this for when I next discard.
I mean, of course, we do have Grimace in hand, just in case that ends up happening. But we see Gothic Goliath coming out here. Are we going for a high roll? That's exactly what we're hoping for. Oh dear. What are we going to get?
Okay, so it's the Gaved. It is literally the lottery here, and drops the Fangs of the Empire because it's the least valuable. Ooh, takes a Gerd. Big card. Gerd is a big, big card to steal there. Not the... It's... The buff on Gerd is not insignificant for sure. It's a pretty decent card. And now I expect, are we going to just see the double removal here? Spam as many points onto the board. No, gets rid of that useless poison. Double damage from Coral. Very nice. The engine value on that when unanswered is actually quite scary.
Yeah, Coral is a very, very scary card. There's a reason people are including her in her decks and building the entire deck around her in its entirety. That power that she gives you, it's such nice tempo. And we see Nick even committing his Masquerade Ball here to keep up with that.
Yeah, Nick looking at that thinking, I need to be able to remove this card now. Obviously, as you've mentioned, Gremist in hand for Ch.ase, though. Is he going to look at this and go, okay, I've got ball now, I'm happy? Is he going to be content that he's ahead here and it's a decent number of points, or is he going to keep pushing? Against Double Cross, you always have to bear in mind card ordering is important as well, because whatever you hold in your hand, you're effectively giving your opponent the option of playing against you. Ah, the joy.
Yes, that deck where you play your opponent's cards better than they can. The age-old saying.
Nilfgaard
Now,
101.
we have Fergus as well as the Seditious Aristocrats in order to trigger our Masquerade Ball, but that's about it.
he finds the heat wave, which is big as well. Manages to find a heat wave by using Coral's ability here, and I think he's just board wiped as well, if I'm not mistaken. He has. That's really nice. That's a really nice little combination there.
Yeah, we see those seditious aristocrats coming out now. Not yet playing for much, but we'll likely be seeing Fergus in combination with that, which isn't bad at all. And it's a bit too late to poison Coral, but it's not going to matter anyway. We decide to purify it.
Ch.ase responding instantly. Speed Gwent returned. Ch.ase saying, hey, you want to play fast friend? I can do it too.
Hey, I think this makes it a lot more fun. This is fine. Now, Fergus coming down soon enough, though. First we see a Tryggvi on the Nausicaa Sergeant. That might just be purified first before we see Fergus being played.
Yeah, quite possibly. It would make sense. Purify that off here. But interesting now, having to use that as a purify means there isn't a second poison in hand for Masquerade Ball. So as a result, even a Procking Ball doesn't allow removal now, has decided saving that engine is more valuable potentially. As a result, potentially just the value that it could add. But there's a lot of points. It's a 20-point gap right now. If Ch.ase is looking at this, he's thinking, you know, yeah, he's taken that choice and gone, okay, catch me.
Catch me if you can.
Exactly.
And I do believe Nick might just be able to if he commits his leader ability right now. You see Fergus coming out there. That's a beautiful Fergus along with the seditious aristocrats.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. I don't think it's enough on its own, though. No, he's going to have to commit leader or lose a card here and make the decision of what is more valuable. Does he choose? He does decide leader. Yeah, it's a big amount of things to get. Managed to get Masquerade Ball. No Usurper, admittedly, still a big card in the short round 3. But getting leader out, knowing he's still got 2 charges himself, pretty big. And I love the change to Reckless Flurry. It was changed in 8.5, now being 3 charges of 3 damage each. So much more versatile. A really, really nice change.
Yeah, especially if you need a lot of control in this sort of metas, it's quite nice under the right circumstances. And you can see this deck is taking to get rid of certain cards where need be. I mean, just the fact that we have Lambert in this deck says it all, doesn't it? And Nick now having a little bit of a peek there at Ch.ase's deck. Of course, he saw that Heatwave is in hand, as well as Geralt, giving him the option to pull out any Witcher of his choice. So Nick might just keep that in mind when he's about to play now. And I doubt he's going to shuffle away that juicy Gerd. I doubt it.
I'd be surprised. It's a decent amount of points. Mulligans away. That's interesting. Decides to get rid of Joachim here, probably playing around the points he would put on his side of the board for the Heatwave. Instead, draws into Coup. Now, you saw as well a Bear Witcher disappear from Chase's hand. Had to get rid of that, otherwise he ends up with a bricked Geralt, I believe. I don't think there were any more left. So it makes sense. Makes sense.
We see that Usurper Emperor coming out first. A nice proactive play, no reason not to.
No, it plays for engine value as well if you play agents. One of the lesser considered values of it, but ultimately it is effectively an engine as well. Does have points and max Bane value there. I mean Lambert, sorry. And gets the 10 points for 10, which in this matchup was the best it was going to see.
Bane. I see. A little bit of a Freudian slip there. Totally understand. And we see both of those leader charges being played from Ch.ase. Makes sense. And Nick now having to decide what he's willing to throw away. Gerd would make sense here, as we haven't hit Adrenaline yet, and he would get the most value out of it now, damaging Lambert as well.
Yeah, it's still just 7 at this point, I suppose. Maybe it's 8 at this point because of the Lambert damage. Not huge, but could be a lot worse. He still has 1... No, that was literally the last turn because it's Adrenaline 3, isn't it? So now has decided he's just going to take it as a 7 for 7 and try and protect, I would imagine. Does he protect his own Usurper? Can't shield it, of course, but can boost it out of removal range.
That's very true here. Interesting plays from Nick, perhaps trying to keep some of his cards off the board, fearing that it might be damaged, might be heatwaved. Ch.ase going for the proactive Swablood Totem play instead of playing any of his other cards. He is holding on to his heatwave, seeing what Nick is willing to give him here. Now, having shuffled Joachim away, the plan might be to pull it out again with Roderick. I'm not sure how many golds is left in his deck. Repek might give us a peek there so we can see what the options are. But yeah, shuffling Joachim away there was certainly an interesting play.
Yeah, missing quite a few. No Brathens, no Joachim, as well as no Cantarella so far. All could be very important. Shuffles a card back there, so we expect to see, and finds the Cantarella as well. So likely to Roderick into Cantarella, using these spies perfectly to block the value of that totem. No? Okay, doesn't block the value of the totem both times, because a click would deny his own coup. Interesting, but takes the Tiered V.
Exactly. A good play there from Nick. If you weren't thinking you might have done that by accident. But yeah, swift click from Ch.ase would have taken that option away in its
and that's
entirety.
What Ch.ase does.
Exactly. And we get to coup the Roderick now. What are we going to pull out of it? I believe we have the option of playing Brathens or playing Joachim.
Now, could be that he will try to pull both effectively. Could he Joachim into Brathens here? No, just goes flat Brathens, says I'm going to take as many points as I can here because there is a nice looking engine on the board that I can steal. Would expect to see that Berserker go to the other side because it trades for a decent amount of points.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Especially with the agents giving that Usurper a constant value. Now Assimilate being procced on Brathens as well.
Yeah, it is risky. Both of those pings could potentially have hit that untransformed cultist, but that hasn't happened. He is safe, so it's fine.
And we finally see Gerd being played there. Not for a lot, though playing him earlier would have given him 1 extra point, so it's not the end of the world.
It is not at all. And
oh, dearie me. Both get rid of an 8-point card, meaning Ch.ase takes it with 2 points, bringing his Skellige list through, now left with 1 list. And Nick start having to bring 2 through as well. Yeah, let's take a look at that real quick.
I think he just has his Elves list left to get through. Nick now has the option of still his Nilfgaard list and his own Reckless Flurry list to get through as well. Obviously did get the win with NR Witches at the first chance of asking as well. Will be pretty happy. Good situation for Ch.ase now. Really good situation. Obviously, he just has to get his Elves through and has them on red coin, which will feel really nice for him. And a sad-looking keg. All blue. Nothing extra special there. Nothing extra special there.
Certainly not.
No,
Shoop having an off day.
Shoop is indeed having an off day, but it doesn't look like... I'm going to throw us back into dual chat for a second while that counts down. So, what do we think Nick does here? He's now 2-1 down. He is in a situation where he's on blue coin and he has either... He's got to get through Elves. Now, normally he wants to take his Nilfgaard list second, right? On red coin. But does he really want to play Flurry into Elves? Ooh.
Well, the idea here is to get rid of as many Elves as possible, right? And I believe Skellige gives you the tools to do that with, especially with Karl. Whereas cards like... Masquerade Ball isn't going to get a lot of value if playing against a list that goes wide, because you have quite a bit of toll removal with cards like Yen, with your poisons as well.
Yen
I
on
suspect
Taverna
we
is
see
nice,
Skellige here.
Yeah, that's
true. Of course, that's very nice, right? That's a very nice combination.
Although you try and play around it as much as possible, right? You make sure your Verno is ideally your last play. You try and grab as many points as possible. And get last say, so it will be interesting to see which way they go here. The one thing we do know, Ch.ase has Elves, and he will be really keen to get it through at the first chance of asking. He won't necessarily want to grab it on blue coin because it can suffer for that early tempo on blue. Lots of options to play, but it's just the amount of points you can play that is a potential issue.
Keep in mind, Skellige also has Heatwave as well as Lambert.
True.
I do suspect we see Nilfgaard instead. What an interesting choice.
So he takes Nilfgaard on blue here. He's determined to get this Nilfgaard through. Has decided he has a better shot of getting this through now and then taking SK against it on its bad coin than the other way around. So Nick here, he is determined. He is going to get this Nilfgaard list through. He has decided that is what is going to happen here.
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting choice from Nick. Perhaps thinking he can get more points on his own, using his own cards like Seditious Aristocrats as well as Fergus. Perhaps playing a little bit of Assimilate there. Maybe quadruple Joachim. He might just think he's going to end up tempoing his way through this matchup. But yeah, a Reckless Flurry just seem perfect in my eyes, seeing that we have Heatwave to get rid of Feign Death. That's if we get that out without Rodea. We have Lambert that deals with Elves perfectly. But perhaps Nick here is thinking a bit ahead, thinking, okay, on blue coin, I want Nilfgaard. I'm going to have to play against Elves the second time, and then my Skellige list is going to be fine. But I'd rather take the Skellige list on red and take this list on blue. That is the best chance I'm going to have.
Yeah, and we see the engine drop very quickly and traded with a Making a Bomb. Will feel really nice for Ch.ase there to grab that, but we're going to see another engine potentially dropped pretty quickly here to replay it, and now protected as well. So Nick back to speed Gwent, but another answer from Ch.ase. Gets rid of the second one. This is Zack. This is more like watching a game we have seen previously. Remove everything you can as quickly as possible.
We do see Joachim coming out there for a significant amount of tempo, getting the Nausicaa Sergeant, which is definitely something you want to see in the situation. Luckily, he has Usurper in hand, or else that would 100% have been the card Joachim draws, as it's always the one he draws in round one. It's just the way RNG works.
Yeah, managed to miss the Brathens as well. There are a few cards you wouldn't want to avoid normally if you've got particularly Usurper, as you say, or Brathens in deck. Just throwing that, interesting. And there Nick gets Bowman there. Could have played those cards on the melee row, but instead spawned on the range row and has now lost his Vigo engine. Oh.
I don't know how good that is necessarily. I mean, it's a poor play in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it removes the potential tempo addition that Aileron can give you for reach if you're bleeding the scenario, but I think of the options, it isn't going to be top of the list of the things you'd have wanted. Rodea would have been better. It's just things that you can take from your opponent, right? There are lots of things you'd have rather have had from that Cantarella there than the Aileron. But it's not the worst card, but it's certainly not the best. Wow.
Yeah, Ch.ase now playing Maxi as if that would have helped a turn or two ago. Just taking a look at the deck, making sure cards like the Alchemist and Cantarella don't draw the good cards. Maxi here might be doing exactly the opposite as what she was intended to do. Shuffle those good cards away, sir. Shuffle them away and let a Neuromancy do the job.
Well, whatever Ch.ase saw, he must have loved. Because quite frankly, he clicked it so quick we didn't even get the screen. They are speed Gwenting even their Maxi choices here.
Okay, and we see Fangs of the Empire coming out there onto Maxi. Will it trigger? Again, I doubt it. Unless we Roderick into something like Cupbearer, Maxi might just be staying there for a while.
And we do see, there it goes, Squirrel finding epic value there. Not ideal. Decides not to take the second Cantarella, instead going for maximum points rather than potential RNG. Now we'll not get another one. That is it. Cantarella is done with. There's going to be no quadruple Joachim nonsense in this series. 2 is more than enough for any game. Thank you.
Yes, that is the way it was intended. Can't change my mind. Now, we are quite a bit ahead here on Nick's side. 21 points. Ch.ase is easily going to catch up, though, if he decides to commit something like Spores on that Nausicaa Sergeant. I doubt he's going to find better value than that, if I'm going to be honest. It depends whether he wants to get out of the round now or wait until Nick passes, because it's going to keep on growing, and committing Spores now might be just a little bit too early.
Yeah, he's more likely to play something slower tempo that would allow him to play Spores to get the pass. So whether he just tries to... He wants to play the hand buff elf rather than anything else, but it's not quite quick enough tempo-wise, because it only effectively plays for 3 points on board, which just begs you to take a pass. So instead does take the Vryad Zapper, deny that poison, you would imagine.
It's very nice for Nick, as Nick does in fact not have poison, and now the Vryad Zapper is out of the way. Nausicaa Sergeant now at 17 points. That Spores is going to be very juicy indeed. I suspect we might see something like the Saboteur coming out now on Vernasil, and Neuromancy in hand in case we need something else later.
It's risky for Ch.ase because it's so slow tempo. He would need to find 20 points in a turn, and at the moment that would mean playing all 3 leader charges and Spores potentially to get out of this round. So Nick in a great position because he has yet another card that he can just slam without thinking. He has another Spy, and we do just see the Spores saying, I'm going to show you that I'm still in this round. Play something big, please.
And that's exactly what he does. Oof. Okay, Ch.ase now going to struggle to get out of this round unless he starts committing cards. Is that something he wants to do is the question. I mean, Elves want a pretty long round, but in a short round they are just as powerful with Redea ticking Feign Death at least once with the stratagem. Now we see the Riot Saboteur coming out.
Yeah, the Riot Saboteur comes out here. Still a big gap though. Needs 15 points potentially to get out here. A little bit tougher for Nick all of a sudden. The cards he has to choose, he's one shot at finding gold cards and you're never committing Usurper. So he says to Ch.ase, okay, show me how you do this. First the Nero, I don't think he ever wants to commit Verno. Could choose to commit the Verno to get out, just to avoid it being Yenable later. It's an option.
That is very true. Yeah, in Yen's hands, this is not something that's ever good. He decides to go for a Neuromancy, but what does he decide to pull? Heatwave.
Nice.
Okay, Heatwave makes sense that we cannot get rid of Masquerade Ball later on. A small price to pay to get ahead here.
Yeah, potentially. Be interesting to see, is that going to come down to it? That was the only card that he could do it without committing too many leader charges. It's a much shorter round and a little bit more difficult to bleed here now. And it depends entirely on what is drawn. Ooh, now, that's not a terrible looking hand if you're potentially going for the shove. That's an even better hand if you are going to go for the push here. Is that what he decides, though? Are those 4 cards enough? Oh, there's the ball.
Oh, both hands looking very juicy here, though Ch.ase definitely hoping Nick's hand isn't the way it is at the moment. He's going to bleed out all of those cards, which is obviously going to be very nice for him, but it's not going to give him a 2-0 necessarily. Not necessarily. We'll see how far he goes into this round.
I believe he's just jammed his leader here, and they are some great cards. Takes Verno. Now, if you're Ch.ase here, you're thinking to yourself, he has just chosen Venosial over a Neuromancy. His hand must be pretty stacked. Now, there are no aristocrats that trigger. That's the only thing. Masquerade Ball right now has 2 previous aristocrats and future aristocrats. But this is not... Nick is not in a great spot with the cards he's got, even though they look great.
He now has to decide whether he's going to pick Redea. I suspect he might. That's exactly what he does. Will he trigger his card now is the question.
Well, he knows there's no direct need to, but chooses to anyway. Goes for as many points as possible here to keep in the round.
Alright, and we get ahead here. Now, getting Verno sealed there was a very bad there for Ch.ase, because it's a lot of points. We see Brothans coming out now. It will likely... Yeah, we're just gonna... Oh, we're gonna steal a card.
Okay.
We're stealing a card instead, going for 2 neophytes.
It is in fact Elves v Elves here. Shocking no one. Nilfgaard has given up on all of its own cards and has decided to use someone else's. We see Verno dropping down here, and again, instead of going for the option of trying to damage, has just taken as many units as possible for the Isengrim that is in hand here. I mean, Ch.ase quite firmly trying for the 2-0, and while you've got 3 of the strongest cards in Nilfgaard in hand, they just aren't going to trade for enough points here if you're Nick. He's got all the cards just at the wrong time. In a round 3 hand, that's a delicious looking last 3 cards, but in round 2, it's a little sad.
Yeah, Nick being pushed into a corner here. And yeah, Ch.ase giving him just enough space to be able to use his Usurper. And will Usurper be clicked is the question. Is it necessary? He decides to click it anyway. We're not allowing any memes into this tournament today. We're just here to get our job done.
Yeah, there's a risk. If he's got Yavin, leaving it there is really dangerous, because 2 leader charges and it just dies and you just lose your own points. Ch.ase not messing around, and if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be really, really tough, because that Masquerade Ball is trading for an absolutely tragic 4 points here, which you just don't want to see if you are Nick. And I guess he'll go for the high roll, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is Ch.ase booking his place in Open 2.
I believe you are right, Lionheart. This went so fast. I was imagining there might have been another game, but you're correct. That would mean Ch.ase. Let's just wait for this to play out before we count our chickens before they've hatched.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like it's even close to enough here.
Wait, let's pretend it's close enough. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Oh, and it's not close enough. Who would have thought Ch.ase booking his space in the Open?